So Bitcoin seems to be heating up, and I want to give you guys everything you need to know about Bitcoin right now in this video. So if you appreciate it, guys, do me a favor, smash that like button and leave a comment, because our Bitcoin videos don't do so well, but I think it's extremely important that you guys understand what happens with Bitcoin, and that way we can figure out what will happen with the rest of our altcoins and the market. So I really appreciate every one of you doing that for me. And if you don't know already, I'm not a financial advisor, so please do not base any financial decisions on my video, because I'm just a guy sitting in his room. Now, if we do take a look at Bitcoin's price action, right now, 79,500. We did have a low of 74,500, and in and around that region was where I decided to get involved in this long position. Now, this was a highly speculative, risky trade here. I did it with 6x leverage because I did think that the market was about to bounce. Now, we bought a whole Bitcoin at about 74,900. Now, like I said, this was a risky bet, but I did think the market was about to bounce, and so far it has paid off. So what I do now with my low leverage strategy here is we take some profits out and then we add a break even stop loss. That's why if the price heads downwards, right, we can then be broken even and we don't lose any money. In fact, we gain money. And if the price heads higher, we can then ride the waves higher. I did the same with XRP and SUI because those were both down 20% on the day yesterday, and I thought that that was a good opportunity for myself. If you guys do want to trade, there is a link to Weeks down there in the description. No KYC, no VPN, nothing. You don't need to provide any personal details, just your email address. Create yourself a password. Take some minutes to read the terms of service, and then you guys can get up to $30,000 of USDT bonuses with the link in the description. Now, if we look at the overall market, we can see we're actually up 4%, $2.53 trillion market cap, which is very nice to see. Now, do I think we're out of the woods yet? No, I don't think right now is the time to be loading the truck. I do think down here was a nice opportunity for dollar cost averaging or opening positions. If you are over in the crypto strategy school, which you can access with the link in the description, you would see that I actually bought Bitcoin on the spot market at 74,000 along with my trades that I did here. So if you want to see those before anyone else, the link's in the description. But I was dollar cost averaging into Bitcoin on the spot market all the way down because I plan to hold Bitcoin for the next 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, right? I do and will take profit when we ebb and flow in the market, but I do plan to hold a certain amount for the extreme long term because I think we could be going to, for example, 250K, 500K, even $1 million potentially one day. No guarantees there, but that's what I'm thinking in my head, right? So that's why I'm willing to dollar cost average at a price of 74K, because a lot of people say, well, Connor, Bitcoin's going to go much, much lower. But if we look at certain things, one thing to look at is the greed and fear index, right down here. When we're down here, the market doesn't actually enter these periods very often. You can see when we were here, Bitcoin's price set 35,000. When we were there next, Bitcoin's price 40,000. When we were there again, Bitcoin's price 19,000. And we entered it here again at about the high 70,000s. So it's rare that the market gets so extremely scared that the price moved down to there. And every one of these times in my history, which is the last 8 years, it's been a great buying opportunity. That's the only reason. Now, history could change and things could change, but I think that there are two options for where we are in this market. One, right, this area, right, is either here or here. So we're either on the big pullback after the first leg upwards to then head higher, or we're on the push to the downside where the bear market is starting. Those are two options that I'm open to. In my head, it's about a 50-50 either way. And personally, I like those odds. Now, in this region right here, I started buying Bitcoin again at 40,000, right? I thought that was the bottom back in 2022. I was wrong. Bitcoin's price continued all the way down to about 16,000, but I continued to buy this dip all the way down, and I averaged my price somewhere around there, and then we made all of these monumental gains. And the reason why I like this strategy is because it takes no stress, no emotion. All I do is I either dollar cost average, let's say once a week, or when the market is disproportionately moving downwards, you know what that is, guys. You know what it looks like. Bitcoin's like, a 5% move, maybe a 10% move, maybe a 20% move in a day. That's when the market is very scared, very emotional. You can confirm that over here with the extreme fear or greed and fear index. You can also see it here, fear and greed index. Just type it in on Google. When I see these moments, that's when I'm dollar cost averaging, or we dollar cost average over time in long periods of uncertainty, right? And I believe that's going to generate the most amount of money. Now, looking at the short term, what we want to see now is for Bitcoin to break 81,600. Once it breaks that, then we want to head up, obviously, to 85,000. If we can get something along the lines of this forming, we may be starting our leg back to the upside, and that could confirm that we are in fact, this region rather than this region. But time will tell. So we need to plan for both sides of the coin. That's why we use our risk management in our short-term positions, and then we view our long-term positions for actually long-term. It's not a joke when I say long-term, because I mean it's actually long-term. So short-term, we want to hold 74,000. However, what we see happen time in and time out is once the market bounces, we have these regions below these wicks. And this is where people put their stop losses and their liquidations and their emotional capitulations, right? So when they sit there, guys, these emotional capitulation levels, the market tends to act like a magnet and go down. That's what we saw here. That's what we saw here. That's what we saw like here with this ones right here. That's what we saw time in and time out, right? People thought this was the bottom, and yet we had a wick below, and it keeps happening, guys. So if we're not out of the woods yet, it's likely that we head lower. And guys, we have barely retested this previous high. You can see here we had this wick, which retested this previous high, right? So far we've barely retested that. And if we are in this region, in fact, we came down to retest this low, which would mean us coming down to retest this low, which sits at 49K. So those things are possible, guys. You need to be prepared for all eventualities of this, and you need to prepare accordingly. So with that said, the market is moving up. Why is it moving up? Because yesterday the S&P 500 moved up, right? So the S&P 500 bounced, the NASDAQ bounced, and guys, that was an opportunity in my eyes because we saw the VIX, which is similar, not the same, but similar to the greed and fear index for crypto, because we see, what's the word? Like people acting crazy, right, when this pushes all the way up. Now, we hit a measure of 60 on the VIX. The last time we saw that was August 2024, but very briefly, right? But if you go all the way back, the last time was 2020 in the old Rona Sun. And remember, buying in the Rona Sun turned out to be one of the best opportunities. So in the short term, we're going to be watching this closely. Let's wait and see if we can break 81,005. If not, I would expect us to retest the previous highs here and maybe even some of the supports that sit. But I will keep you guys up to date, but I need you guys to do me a favor. Like this video and comment right now anything you want so we can get this video out to more people and I can start making updates for Bitcoin. And remember, if you do want to trade, guys, up to $30,000 waiting for you on Weeks, but there is no KYC or VPN, so you can trade from anywhere in the world, but you do need to read the terms of service before you get involved. Hopefully, with that said, I'll see you in the next video. Peace.